Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Slice of Sports alongside Eric Dobratz. As always, I'm John Pearson. We have another great guest in this week. It's University of New Haven head football coach Mark Powell, who just finished up spring football and his second year on the job there. And Mark, great to have you in. How did things go for you in the spring?
Yeah, it was really good. I really appreciate you guys having me on. The spring was great. A lot of competition, a lot of guys, showing up. And, we did a good job, I thought, in the transfer portal, taking some good players. And, the guys that we're bringing back was the nice piece of it for me was just understanding, like, the guys know how we operate now and doing things in practice was a little bit smoother when we got thrown into it last summer. So really, really good spring.
I was at the Yale spring practice this weekend, and their new head coach, Kevin Cahill, said to me, like, I finally feel like I'm not drinking out of a fire hose anymore. And he's only been there a few. Like, how long did it take you? You were a defensive coordinator, obviously, before you took over, but how long did it take you to really, take that deep breath? Like, okay, this feels kind of normal now.
Yeah, I would say, Christmas. It was definitely a whirlwind. I call it organized chaos, what last year was. But, our guys were really, really resilient. Our staff did a really great job. And we had a ton of support from the administration last season during the transition. And I got the chance to take that deep breath right around Christmas. I was like, okay, this is what normal is now. And, it was because I got moved into the seat 2.5 months on the job as the DC. So it was and then we moved to D1 and all the rest of it. So it was, like I say, organized chaos, but it was a lot of fun. It was the guys did a great job with it, but it was definitely around Christmas time I was able to take that deep breath. So.
And you're pulling double duty last year too. Are you doing that again this year, or you got to?
So I'm calling it again on defense. I'm the head coach, defensive coordinator, and I'm coaching the safeties. So I wear 3 different hats.
Okay.
But I was linebackers last year, and now I'm moving back to the back end. I can't keep my my hand out of it just yet from a defensive standpoint. But got a good supporting cast.
Is that a comfort thing? Are you content coaching both sides? Well, some guys like to just have an overview of everything and not worry about that and more delegate. But do you like having your hands in making the sauce, as they say?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I definitely like being in the kitchen. There's definitely a piece of it for me that. I still love being able to coach and be in position meetings, and it's just organizing it all and being able to have a good supporting cast where if I can't be in those meetings, I know that they're going to be getting the same message if I was delivering it. I don't see myself giving up play calling duties anytime soon.
How much time do you take to reflect on last year and and use that as your blueprint? You're not in a conference, right? But you go 5-5. I would think you had to be pleased with that, or did you want to win every game last year?
You definitely want to win them all. We got picked to go 1-9, and people didn't really see us as somebody that was going to be in the fight as much as we were. And I think we kind of put people on notice when we beat Albany up at Albany, and then we kind of started rolling, and we beat a really, really good Saginaw Valley team that made they took Grand Valley State to the overtime in D2, and it was then we started rolling, and then as the season progressed, you got your swag a little bit, and then the guys really understood what Division I was. It's just they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and you got to play at a different level, and that's one thing I will say. Our kids play hard, so.
Yeah. So what are the expectations this year? Because now you're in a conference. How much does that change everything? You have a 12-game schedule this year. I know talking to you before the spring game, you like the leadership group you have back. So how do you pull them along to raise the bar and exceed expectations this year again? Yeah,
for us, it's just understanding where your feet are, right? When we got back in January, I break the year into 4 quarters naturally, right? And, the first phase was commitment phase. How committed are you to the program? How we do things, our core values. Then spring ball was really that growth phase. You got to become comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a big piece of it now in college sports. You got to be put in certain situations and grow from them and learn from them. And then the summertime is going to be the biggest piece for us, is just getting the guys back on campus and understanding how we need to be able to operate when we're there, when we're not there, be a pro. That's what the summertime is about. How much are you going to invest in it? And then the season's the season. So I think the first 2 phases that we went through were really, really good. I think that the summertime is going to be a big piece of it for us, just because now that's where leadership really flourishes during that summertime. It's, you're in one class, you maybe get a job, we're in there from 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning to 9:30, then it's, what are you going to do with the rest of your day? Go be a pro, go get a job. Those are the things where the summertime really ramps up. So we got to get those leaders to continue to lead.
And when you're a new program, last year, it's like you guys are like a band of gypsies. The circus, you're on the road, you're going all over the country. But just looking at your schedule this upcoming season, geographically a lot more friendlier. Some games in Massachusetts. I mean, the farthest trip, you're going to go to South Dakota State, Tennessee to play Austin Peay. But all the other games kind of in New England and Pennsylvania. I mean, how much does that help when you're building a program, not have to worry about flying across the country 6 times or something like that?
No, it's huge. I think we did a really, really good job with our schedule with, Devin Crosby, our AD, and our president with President Fredrickson. And I think that, that was a big piece of it for us, was trying to make it geographic where it makes the most sense for us. For us, we're going to be, home. I think it's the first 3 out of 4. We have Brown coming to us, which is great, out of the Ivy League. So I think, we set ourselves up in the early part to be home and then be able to travel when we needed to go travel. In South Dakota State, they're going to be top 5 in the country, and Austin Peay is going to be up there too. And it'll be a homecoming for me going back down to Tennessee. I was at Austin Peay for 3 years. So, excited to get back down there. And then the NEC slate is going to be a gauntlet. That conference, what they've done building it with the teams that are in it now, you don't get a week off. It's a very, very competitive conference. But again, the travel's nothing crazy. You have a couple long bus rides, but other than that, pretty geographically friendly to us.
And John and I kind of probably romanticize about it more than anything else, but like when UConn played Yale.
Yeah.
I mean, how important is it to you to have those geographic rivalries when you're building a program?
Yeah, the Central Connecticut
Yeah,
State
Central
matchup.
one's
I'm looking
natural.
forward to that.
Sacred Heart last year.
Yeah,
right?
Sacred Heart last year. Yeah.
How important is that to you when you're building a program to have those rivals?
You need them. You need them naturally built geographically. I think that's going to naturally happen with us in Central, and want to go play Yale at some point, be able to go play UConn. I mean, we want to be the premier football program in the Northeast. There's no doubt about that, and that's what we want to do. So we have to go play those teams, and I think those will be naturally given to us from a geographic standpoint that we have to just go execute from a scheduling standpoint.
Well, we're going to take a quick break because
That's 8 minutes already.
Yeah, it flew by. He's pretty good. I like him as a guest. We got a couple more things to talk about. Family is one thing, not only on the field but your extended family as well. We'll be back with more Slice of Sports in just a minute. And welcome back to Slice of Sports, joined by Mark Powell, the head coach at the University of New Haven for football. And we were talking about family before we went to break, and I noticed the T-shirt's fast. You want fast players, but fast means something different. Explain to me what that means and how important that is to you and your program.
Yeah, fast is our program mantra. That's kind of what we hang our hat on. That's what we believe in every single day. And we want to score fast, get off the field fast, tackle fast, do all those things fast. We want fast players, like you said, but it also stands for family always stays together. That's something that it was instilled in me at a very young age, that football is the biggest family you could possibly have. And for me to be able to, have that be what we kind of stand on is something that's very, very important. And our kids believe in it, and they understand that in order for us to be successful. And I think we bought into that last year when, I made it the program mantra going into last season. And, we weren't always going to be the biggest. We weren't always going to be the fastest technically, but we were going to stay together and play together. And I think that's why we did what we did last year.
I think people forget sometimes too, these student athletes, the NIL is a huge piece of college athletics. 100% get it. There's money to be made, and who's going to say a kid's wrong for chasing money?
No doubt.
But a lot of kids want structure. We forget where some of these kids come from. Maybe not the best home life or the best environments. And if you can give them that maybe home life they didn't have, or that sense of family, I mean, how important is that to build? Is that part of your culture?
What I stand, that's what I talk about all the time. That's what I preach. My grandfather actually had a saying, and he used to say, you can't treat players like chess pieces and move them around a board and expect them to play hard for you. You got to build relationships with them, get them to love you, then they'll run through the wall for you. And that's what that literally it hangs my office. That's what I look at every single day. And how am I building relationships with these guys? And if they do something great, I want them to feel like they is celebrating with their parent, getting to love you. And when they disappoint you, you want to feel like you're letting your mom or dad down. And for our guys, I think that, it's everything to me. I think that if you build those relationships and you understand what they can do for these guys, I want to be, invited to their weddings. I want to be a text message when they have their first kid. Like, that's what we're building at New Haven. And that's something that's very, very important to us as a program.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your grandfather in a minute because I love that man too. But do you feel like a big brother in a lot of ways? The open door policy, you know, when guys trust you. I mean, because they'll come in your office and talk to you about anything, right? It's not just football. It could be life stuff too, right? So how much do you take that home with you? How often is that happening? Because you have a massive roster.
Yeah, we have a big roster, and for me, it's all about open door communication, but I also talk about open door honesty. You can come in and talk to me about anything, but we have to understand, like, core value number one is honesty. If you come in, we have to have a conversation. We got to be honest with each other so we can help each other. And that's something that I think in today's day and age, there's so much smoke and recruiting and all the rest of it. These kids just want you to be real. They really do. They just want you to be exactly where they're at. But for me, those are the conversations I love, are the guys that just, hey, coach, I want to pop in and talk to you. Like, please. That was the biggest thing that I had to get used to when I moved into the head coaching role, was you don't have that as much unless you make it normal. Yeah. When you're a coordinator, when you're a position coach, guys always want to pop in. When you become a head coach, it's a little bit different. And I put that I put a stop to that really quick. I wanted my guys to know you can always come in and talk to me. I think that's a big piece of being a coach that kind of gets lost in today's day and age.
The honesty piece, you said it's such a simplistic word, but I think Coach Hurley's great with that too. Up at UConn, the basketball program, he's had guys come and go, and he's been honest with them about their playing time. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, I could have lied to so and so or lied to so and so, and then made them stay, but he's looking for their future, and as you mentioned, he wants to have a relationship with them beyond the field, beyond the court, and I commend you for having that such a piece of your life.
And that showed right away for you too, because you mentioned that A.J. Duffy, your quarterback, and Brody Williams, your lead D-back. Yeah. I mean, they could have gone somewhere else, but how much did that whole thing matter, and them returning, because they could have made some money if they
they definitely could have, and I commend them for being men of their word. I'm not going to lie to you and say I wasn't holding on to my seat every day that portal was open, but to have both those guys back, and it kind of just speaks volumes to our staff and everything that we're building at New Haven, and have those guys back, it kind of showed that it still matters. It still matters in today's day and age in college football. To be able to build those relationships is so key for our guys, and we're able to hopefully going to keep more and more and more, and not have to deal with the portal as much.
Are you feeling good about this year? Like, your coaching style. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, I don't want to go too far back in time. We're going to save that for the last segment. But how did it all start, and how did you know that this was the career for you?
Yeah, man. So my senior year in college, I got medically DQ'd. I had 4 shoulder surgeries over 3 years, so I was done.
And you're at Lafayette.
I was at Lafayette College, and my senior year, my DC at the time, John Luce, who's a mentor of mine, came in. He's like, hey, come in and help. You got a football mind. You grew up in it. Come help around the office. And that's kind of what sparked my interest in it. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Like, that's what I literally thought I was going to go do. And I got offered an opportunity to be an intern at Yale in 2014. And the rest is history. I never turned back. Just once I got into it, my grandfather warned me, you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I definitely do. And once I took the second job at Villanova, I knew I was never going to get out. And that was an awesome opportunity for me. And, this profession has done a lot for my family. But for me as a person, it's done so much just because you get to meet so many people. You get to build so many great relationships. Like, I'm in one of my linebackers' weddings from when I was at Austin Peay at the end of the month. Like, what profession would you have that in? Like being able to have somebody in that type of realm be able to invite you back. So it's the best profession on earth.
Well, I got your resume right in front of me. Roll through it for me. Give me the Johnny Cash.
Yeah, sure. Really
I've
quick.
been everywhere, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
I think our listeners would like to hear that.
Yeah, so I have been a lot of places. So Lafayette College, so I was a student intern my senior year there. Then I was Yale, Villanova for 2. Then I went to Marshall in West Virginia. Then I went to a D3 school called Christopher Newport, which I always say is the best stop because I met my wife there. My wife's the best. She's a rock star. I wouldn't be able to do this without her, Stephanie. So from Christopher Newport, went to Mississippi State, went to Austin Peay for 3, Austin Peay to Fordham to high school for 2, and then high school to here. So, I'm a nomad.
And a stop in the family business.
Yeah, in the family business during that as well.
Years.
Yeah, so I did that, and it's a fun profession for sure to be able to I never would have seen places I've seen and coach the place. Like, got a chance to coach at Mississippi State with Joe Moorhead, who's an unbelievable offensive mind. Worked for Bob Shoop, who's the DC, and played against Tua as the quarterback at Alabama. Like, I look back now, I'm like, wow, I got to see some really amazing athletes back then. So fortunate for sure.
And John and I were talking about this. We were at the National Football Foundation this weekend, and everyone talked about family. We've talked about our families in our business too. Our families have to put up with a lot of the missed birthday party or the missed I can't go to the family wedding, nights and weekends. We try to pick our spots, but before we take a break, we'll get more into the family. But how do you balance that? You have 2 kids at home, right?
My kids and my wife do not miss a practice. Rain or shine, they always come to practice. That's something that was something that Stephanie and I always talked about, that I'm not always going to be home. I'm going to miss some things, but for 2 to 2.5 hours during practice, like, I want them to be around. I want them to be running around. I want them to be tackling the dummies. And when I'm running a team period, you can come stand next to me and hold my hand while I'm blowing a whistle. Like, I want them to be involved as much as humanly possible, and I try to do that with our entire staff. I try to have them be involved in the recruiting dinners and be involved in different things, because they need to be invested in what we're doing. If not, this whole thing's not going to work. So that's something that is very, very important to me, is to be able to have the families involved. And for me, it's understanding when you get into it, what you sign up for, in college football, and what you guys go through too. Like, all of a sudden something happens, you got to go. Like, it is what it is. And you have to be able to have a really strong home front to be able to do this. So
those core memories for your kids, they're going to be there forever. And you have a lot of those core memories too. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we come back, delve into who your grandfather is. If you know, but he's a legend in his own right. We'll be back with with more Slice of Sports in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to Slice of Sports with Eric Dobratz and Mark Powell, the head coach at the University of New Haven. And we've been talking about family, been talking about your grandfather, and anyone from this area who's been around a while, and maybe not a while, knows Carm Koza, former Yale coach and just a legend around here, was your grandfather. And I know I've talked to you before about him. Just, I could see it in your face already. Whenever his name comes up, you just beam with pride.
Yeah, I mean, he was the best. I mean, he was not just a coach, not just an unbelievable dad, to my mom and to, his other 2 daughters, Kathy and Karen. But, he was like a friend. Everything that I try to do in this profession now, his True Blue book is the first thing I look at every single day when I walk in my office. And his quote, the one I said earlier, is right there. And all of his players loved him so much, and that's what I strive to be. Because I think if you can create great men, some great dads, great husbands down the road, I think that the wins and losses take care of themselves. Like, my grandfather never talked about the wins and the losses. He talked about his staff and the people that they were and his players, and he won a lot. So I'm just trying to. I'm not. I don't know if I'll ever fill his shoes, but I'm just trying to put my own spin on it and serve him proud. And I know he's laughing a lot of the time now. I can definitely.
I told you.
There's no doubt.
Should have been a lawyer.
There's no doubt. Yeah, he definitely is smiling down on us, and it's amazing to be able to do what he did up the street, and be able to build our own legacy at the University of New Haven.
You were an intern at Yale, and you got a chance to kind of cross paths with your grandfather. People don't know he went and did radio for a long time with WEI, and sitting up top. We all listened to him in the car. We're driving around. Well, you had a chance to kind of work right next to your grandfather. What was that like?
Unbelievable. I remember the first time I went up to the booth as an intern, and I was doing, I think it was like doing personnel or something for the defense, and I got assigned a seat, and I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, and I was doing the first thing, and I'm getting ready to send out the first personnel, and I looked to my left, and it was Papa. It was my grandfather, and I was like, whoa, like, this is pretty wild too. And he's doing the color, and we'd score, he'd give me a fist bump through the glass, or we get a big stop on third down, he'd give me a fist bump, and I'll remember that year forever, to be able to do that, where he built his legacy. 2014 is a special year forever. So
you talk about taking your boys to work with you.
Yeah.
He did the same thing with you. How much do you think you just inherently took in from him? And talk about those days running around on the sidelines with him.
Yeah, it was unbelievable to be able to go. Again, when you're young, you don't realize the impact. I didn't understand who he was, and to the extent until I got a little bit older. But when you just go around and you're watching those older kids practice, and he was explaining to me, hey, we're gonna go to practice today, and he would pick me up and go to practice, and we're watching and be able to just understand how he saw it. But it was also the cool thing for me, I got to see the interactions of him with the players even after he retired, and that was really cool for me too. And even the coaches, they would come up and grab him and talk to him. And in 2014, going back to that year quick, when I was in the office, he's still in the office at Yale, and he would still pop up and sit down, watch tape, and ask questions. And he was never trying to step over, you know, because I think, you know, Tony Reno does an unbelievable job there, and I know Kev will too. But, you know, he still loved it so much. And to be able to see that at a young age, how much the game mattered to him, but it wasn't just the game, it's what the people did.
Yeah. I went to the National Football Hall of Fame the year he was inducted.
Yeah, 2004?
Yeah, I think it was 4.
right.
Yeah.
So I went with a photographer, and we went to New York City to wherever the event was. And I remember George Steinbrenner was also there that day, and he was getting inducted for something I don't recall, or some sort of you know, honor. And we went up to the boss and said, "Hey, can we get a quick interview?" No, I'm not doing media, whatever. And I don't know if he said it to our photographer or something like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we're like, "Oh, we're here for Carm Koza." He's like, "Carm's here?" And he's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" You know, that Steinbrenner-esque thing. And he went and sought out your grandfather because there was some sort of Ohio connection back in the day.
Ohio.
And he couldn't wait to go talk to your grandfather. I just was like, as a young person who was just getting in the business, like, man, George Steinbrenner wants to go talk to Carm. I knew he was a legend in New Haven, but it was amazing.
Yeah, what my grandfather did for the game of football was, you know, amazing during the era. I mean, he did it for 3 decades, you know, so a little bit longer than that, and, you know, cradle of coaches, so on and so forth. And to be able to see what he did, you know, because he weathered a storm during the Ivy League days, you know, went from playing the big time to then no playoffs. Now, my grandfather's definitely smiling that they can make the playoffs now. So, you know, he went through a lot too during his career.
He saved the Yale Bowl.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
The Yale Bowl was going to, there was talk, you might remember better than I did, there was talk of getting rid of the Yale Bowl, and he helped save the Yale Bowl.
Yeah. And you know, his ripple effect, you know, I have such a soft spot for him. I said to him, I love him because I started interning here in 1988 when my first assignment was to go cover Yale UConn football. Yale blew UConn out that day, and I had to go interview your grandfather, who I was scared to death, an 18-year-old kid. I ran on the field, didn't know what to ask. I just said, "Big win, coach." He could not have been nicer. I was like, wow, that was great. He made it so easy for me. I ran across the field to interview Tom Jackson, who just lost, and he was the polar opposite of your grandfather. So I will forever remember how great your grandfather was to me. And then also later on, when Eric Parseghian died, we talked about the cradle coaches, I called and asked if I could come over and interview him and ask him about him. And sure enough, it might have been one of the last interviews he did.
Yeah.
He said, "Come on by the house." Went by the house. He comes out. Classic Coach Koza. Had the hat on, had the Yale gear on. He was coach till the end.
Yeah.
And what I really admired about that moment was your grandmother was wondering if he was okay. Carm. She said, "Where are you? Okay?" They cared for each other up until the end, which was a beautiful moment to see. He was just an amazing man.
Yeah, he was the absolute best, and definitely very, very fortunate to be able to, you know, call him Papa and be able to grow up around him, because some of the funny stories that I know and I love to this day have nothing to do with, you know, what his career was. It was, you know, being able to, you know, room with him, like when we went on vacations and he would hit me in the face with pillows. And like, he was a big prankster. Like,
Take you up in the wagon?
Oh, yeah. Big
wagon.
prankster. So, I'm very, very fortunate to, you know, learn a ton from him, but also have a different relationship than most.
Yeah,
I'll be forever grateful to our friend Steve Kahn, longtime Yale employee. After Carm passed, Steve said, "Hey, come over to Yale tomorrow. I want to show you something." And he took me into your grandfather's office because they were trying to figure out, they had reached out to the family. Because your grandfather's office, I didn't like the original phone from like 1960 was there. His roll, I remember thumbing through his Rolodex and the era Parseghian. Like any name of college football you wanted to talk was in the Rolodex.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the biggest mistakes Yale ever made was not preserving that the way it was and leaving it as a museum.
Yeah,
I know
it was
Ray
definitely
Tompkins'
a museum.
house is getting redone now, but it just. And I hope your family got everything they needed out of that office.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I got I still have that jacket that would just popped up here. I still have it. It's in my closet.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I have that. I have his original hat. I have the cool thing. I have some of his journals that and from a head coaching standpoint, being able to go through those right now is definitely helped.
Anything with you that you can carry these days on the field, like a whistle or something?
Yeah.
Like that?
So no, I keep you know, when he passed away, I keep his card with me at all times. But no, nothing that I actually physically carry other than the card. But I talk to him before every game. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thanks for letting your grandfather hijack the last
No,
segment
it's all
here.
good. Hey, he's earned it.
Yeah, he really
110%. So.
And you've earned it too. Great job
I appreciate
in your first year.
Thank
Continued
you.
success in year 2 as the
really
head coach
appreciate
at New Haven football. We appreciate you coming by. That's Mark Powell, the head coach. That's going to do it for another edition of Slice of Sports for Eric, for Mark, and for myself. Have a great night, everyone.